Okay guys, how's it going? Today I wanted to go over some tips and advice for how to shoot your wedding. Because let's be honest, a majority of the time, if you are just now getting into weddings, you are probably asked by your friend or family member that knows that you either take video or that you do photos / some kind of content creation on YouTube or one of those other streaming platforms. And you have no idea kind of where to start, and that is totally okay. Your first attempt will always be terrible. Welcome to the club. So I wanted to go over the last wedding that I shot with you guys, and I'm going to play it kind of in the background, and I'll pause it occasionally, and we'll kind of go from there. Let me start out by saying my recommendations for what you need to get started. As kind of like a base level, what I would recommend to make it a lot easier. I would start with at least 3 cameras. You can shoot a wedding with just one. It is very hard. And it gets significantly harder the more cameras that you add, but having just one camera, you always have to have it running. You always have to be everywhere at the exact same time. What I normally like to have is kind of one camera facing the groom, one camera facing the bride, and then I'm going to either have on a tripod, a monopod, or a gimbal my camera, and I will alternate between those. And this makes it a lot easier to where I don't have to, get the groom's reaction whenever the bride is reading her vows, and I don't have to get her reading it at the same time, as well as get a kind of wide angle shot. So that's what I'll normally have kind of set up. I would recommend a 4th and or maybe a 5th camera pointed at the audience. I say the audience, the guests. Make sure you get like the mothers, the fathers, the grandmothers, kind of like angles of them kind of reacting throughout the ceremony, and then maybe have that wide one constantly going down the aisle. So let's go ahead and get started. So one thing about this wedding that I did not like right out of the gate is just the audio. What I would recommend is having the mic on the officiant and on the bride and on the groom. All 3 of them at least, and then maybe like have one up by the altar if you can get one situated in there. I did not have any of those. I just had a shotgun mic mounted on top of one of my cameras, and you can kind of hear some crickets. There was a lot of wind noise. There was traffic noise. This was kind of out in a small little backyard kind of field area behind a building right next to a highway. So you hear a lot of traffic going by, and you hear, like I said, a lot of those crickets and everything that I tried to hush down. So it sounds a little muffled, and I didn't quite like it in the end. Another thing is how to spice up your wedding video. You can be there like 10 to 15 minutes before the wedding begins, and then you can leave as soon as you kind of say I do and they walk down the aisle. That's totally okay depending on what either the bride and groom had in mind or what you kind of like, hey, I'll do this and that's it. But to spice it up, get there early, get them kind of setting up things, and I wasn't able to get there early enough to have the decorations be in place, the cake being delivered, those kind of shots. Get them getting ready, pinning on flowers, tying ties, putting on makeup and things like that. Those will always help elevate any wedding video. So if you notice kind of right there, it almost looks like I am in 2 different places at the same time, getting the bridal party and the groomsmen and everybody walking down, kind of getting ready to walk down, and them walking down. That is because I have those multiple camera angles set up. Another thing that I recommend is trying to communicate with the photographer I reached out to her probably a week or two before the wedding, like, hey, I'm the videographer. Is there anything I need to know or that I can do to kind of make sure that you can do your job well? And she was super laid back. I loved working with her. She was able to get really good photos, and I was able to get this video done. And we weren't ever in each other's way. We didn't ever like get into some kind of confrontation like, hey, I need to get this shot, you need to get out of the way. And it was just a wonderful experience. So you need to make sure that you are talking with every other kind of vendor that's going to be involved in that, the DJ. Because he came up to me later on, but he's like, hey, is the lighting okay in here? Is it going to be flashing too much? Is it too colorful? Let me know if I need to change anything. Loved him too. He made it like a lot easier for me because he's also like, hey, I will let you know when I'm going to be calling people up for either a dance or, you know, as I'm introducing somebody. So it made it really good because I knew when I needed to be somewhere thanks to him. So I really loved him as well. One thing I really did not like was the constant focus popping that happened throughout the kind of wedding and everything. I was a little rushed getting everything set up. It was a little windy, so I had to make sure my tripods were stable before I could kind of like leave them there. And then I was also trying to get my angle of where I'm moving around and catching those people walking down the aisle or little interactions and things like that. So I left it on autofocus and it was just constantly popping. I wish I would have probably just locked it off somewhere and just that was it. So that was one thing that also killed me. So either make sure you have a really good autofocus lens or make sure that you kind of lock it off to avoid those focus pops because they are very distracting. One thing that I will recommend, and I've always loved it too, whenever you're watching a wedding video and you don't see a good close-up of the bride right away, the bride is one thing that should kind of be like the this is it moment, and the longer that you can hide her while building up to the wedding, you do see her a couple times beforehand, but not really like a good close-up. And now that she's fixing to walk down the aisle, you're going to start seeing more and more of her. So like I said, it's having those kind of transitions and building up into this wedding, and make sure that you're telling a story. Constantly be filming stuff, get little decorations, get the tables, get the gifts, because it's things like that that the bride and groom do not really get to see or enjoy the day of their wedding because they're too busy, making sure their vows are right, making sure the cake got delivered, making sure family members are happy. So it's very hard for them to actually enjoy the day. So get as much as you can, because for them, honestly, it might actually be the first time that they got to see a fully decorated table before children got in there, family members got in there. So just get those little details. And like I said, add suspense and constantly be building on the actual day itself. So there is a lot of talking from the officiant, from the bride, and from the groom. You can include all of those, and that just makes it a longer video, or you can kind of like condense down. And I personally, it depends on what they want. If they said, hey, I want all of our vows included, try to include those. But if not, really hit on those major points. I cut out a few lines, I think, from both of their vows. Beautiful lines, very heartfelt, very important. And that, like I said, depends on the scope of however you want to shoot your wedding. Do you want this a long wedding? Do you want this kind of short and simple video? Because you can't include everything in that day. Or you can just kind of give them like those true kind of like heartfelt, like inspirational moments. And I think I was able to do that very well by keeping the lines that I did from their vows. So one thing right here that I absolutely love is just, her wiping away that tear. And that is one of those things that it would be so hard to get that on a good camera angle if you were just flying solo on this with one camera, because chances are you're either going to be getting her reaction, or you're going to be in the middle, or you might be getting the family's reaction at that time, and you may not be set up and or see that even fixing to happen. So having, like I said, one camera facing the groom right there, absolute game changer. And same thing on the bride as well. One thing you may have noticed that I did a very bad job about, as I mentioned earlier, I was kind of rushed getting on the camera set up, is trying to match all your settings. White balance especially, if I would have white balanced them all manually, left them all at the same thing, it would have been much easier for me to color grade this, because I had a huge problem afterwards trying to color grade and match everything. Of course, I was shooting on 3 different cameras across 2 different systems, so that was very hard. And another thing about shooting on multiple cameras, and if you haven't watched my last video, kind of like goes into a little bit about my camera lenses and everything, go watch this video, and kind of goes a little bit into about like colors and why lenses are slightly different-ish, kind of. I'm gonna make a better video about that. But like I said, the colors were kind of different, so that was kind of hard. But another thing too about cameras and why it can be more challenging the more cameras you add is because a lot of cameras, especially here in the US, have that recording time limit of like 30 minutes, give or take. So you constantly have to be like, okay, I need to go reset that camera, and then I need to go reset this camera. And that can just cause all kinds of problems. My sweet spot is about 10 to 15 minutes. I'll kind of keep my watch on, and I keep them all about the same. So whenever I reset one, I know I need to go try to reset the other. So like every 10 minutes, I'll kind of look down. I'm like, okay, I need to start making my way over there. That way, if something is happening and I need to catch that really quick, I know that I have a 20-minute to 15-minute buffer before I have to go reset that camera. So that's another thing too that definitely would try to get. And another thing too is if you run a external audio recorder, like I said, at the altar or on one of the bridegroom or officiant, makes it a lot easier to sync everything up in post. I had a hard time syncing everything because I didn't have that audio. So it was a lot of manual, okay, when was this clip shot, when was this clip shot, and then matching them all together. So that is another thing that I do recommend. So this is one of those things that you do not have to put this in a wedding video, them getting their, because this was their photo session after the wedding, because this was actually the first time they had kind of seen her. They did a photo shoot beforehand, but he was blindfolded. So this was their actual photo shoot where they could see each other and interact. So you don't have to film this. Does it make this a really good wedding video? Absolutely. That is entirely up to you guys. Do you want to stay for that long? Do you want to just, hey, I got them kissing, I got them saying their vows, and I'm out of here? That is entirely up to you, but I think this adds quite a bit to the actual wedding video. again, I want to mention the like going back to the photographer. Because we had them walk back and forth like 4 or 5 times because I had to get them like twice and then she had to get them like twice. And that was just one of those things where it's like, okay, here's your turn, here's your turn. Do you want to do this again? Do you need anything? Really great. And I think there was actually one time we were actually walking down together. She was getting them photographed, and I was like, oh, I can walk almost beside her and get this video. And that, you know, like I said, you just have to have that communication, and it makes things so much easier. Get shots, get shots, get shots. Those little like reactions where it's like you're not even like filming anything specifically, you're just capturing the moment. There's a lot of those that you saw just now where should I have like been filming like something particularly? I don't know, but I was like getting them like ordering their meal for the wedding. I was getting them kind of celebrating with some friends. Get all of those shots because it just really helps kind of like sell the whole experience of what that day was about. And I just can't stress that enough, so just bear with me on that. How to make transitions between things. You see a couple times I did use a crossfade, a film dissolve. Other times just doing like a straight hard cut. I've made some L and some J cuts. I don't know if you guys caught those. If you don't know what those are, go research those. Becky and Chris, they make a really good video about L and J cuts. I'll try to link that down below. So those are huge. And another thing too is make sure you have like good music, and I prefer Soundstripe. I will throw a link down below for you guys to go explore that. They have a lot of this kind of beautiful, airy music that is perfect for weddings. So I've been using them for about 2 years now. Really have enjoyed the selection and ability that Soundstripe has to kind of recommend and categorize their songs so I can find them easily for weddings, commercials, and all their kinds of videos. Alright, so that was the whole wedding video. If you're not sure when or where to make cuts, like I said, just kind of like take your time. Watch, I didn't say that earlier, so I'm saying it now. Take your time editing a wedding video. If you're gonna go, try to hit some deadlines or whatever, make sure you give yourself like I think it was about a month almost before I got them their wedding video. The day, you get home, dump all your cards, create a backup somewhere off-site, make sure you always have a backup while you're editing. And then, maybe like sort and organize footage, but then like give yourself a day or two, just kind of like decompress and just kind of think things over. Because you don't want to like rush through it and you're going to get very overwhelmed editing a wedding video. So just take your time, go slow. And like I said, if you're not sure what to make cuts, kind of like go with the music, kind of go, like I said, building that story, like tell like what happened when, and then just take us through that whole day into the night and the after party. If you guys have any questions over how I kind of edited it as far as like when I made cuts, what I included, what I didn't include, because like I probably had 4 hours of footage among the 3 cameras total, so it was a lot of files and a lot of viewing and going over things. So if you guys are curious about any of that, write a comment down below. I'd love to talk to you guys about it. And if you guys are in the Oklahoma area and you guys are interested in collaborating sometime, feel free to send me a message. And I do love referring people, so if you guys are in the area and you're looking for potentially getting into weddings of your own, I always love recommending weddings, photographers or videographers to friends. So until next time, hope you guys enjoyed it. I will see you later. Bye.